Right, between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., the two gentlemen will participate in a handing over ceremony at the Kasarani Stadium that will be witnessed by millions of Kenyans and administered by the Chief Justice and the Chief of Defense Forces in what is expected to be a ceremony full of pomp and color.
Leila Muhammad. In just 8 seconds, a swiftly done and equally significant action that shifts the scales of power from one commander to another occurs in such a ceremony.
Have not had the smooth transition that Kenya has had. And therefore today, Kenya is the one that every part of the world look at for leadership in Africa.
As that short moment happens, it freezes time for the two gentlemen in a transition from one regime to another.
The moment he hands over and President William Ruto takes over and is handed over the instruments of power, the sword and whatever he reads, the oath of office, then President Uhuru's flag goes down and President Ruto takes over. So the flag will be visible until that moment when President-elect William Samuel Ruto will be handed the instruments of power and he has read the oath of office. That's when you'll also see the ADC quickly moving from the former president to the new president.
In a few hours, President-elect William Ruto will stand side by side with the outgoing President Uhuru Kenyatta as the instruments that define the presidency and the authority to command the Kenya Defense Forces are brought to the dais by military police officers. The Commander-in-Chief's sword carried on a special wooden carrier by a major, with a copy of the Constitution being carried by a captain, and the duo escorted by one more officer who is also a captain. All these officers from the military police unit. On the last day of preparations for the main event, two flags representing the presidential standards are rolled up in different positions at two adjacent poles. Just like in the past, two military police officers will raise and bring down each of those flags in a simultaneous manner as the three stanzas of the national anthem play in the background. Just after the national anthem, a 21-gun salute by the Kenyan Navy officers will be on display, with all the officers from the Kenya Defense Forces continuing to salute up until the last moment when everyone will sit down. Uhuru Kenyatta's standard will be taken to him and handed to the Chief of Defense Forces, General Robert Kibochi, by Lieutenant Colonel Frederick Mutungi, the commanding officer of the 2nd Military Police Battalion. Before this significant ceremony, the 4th Commander-in-Chief will have an opportunity to do one last lap inside the stadium before taking his place at the presidential podium used for military parades, where Lieutenant Colonel Gilbert Kinanga, the parade commander, walks up to request him to inspect his last guard of honor, mounted by 160 soldiers. The Kenya Army forming the chunk, followed by the Kenya Air Force and the Navy. Before all this happens, the parade has to get into the stadium in quick formations and with military precision. For one last time, Kenya's 4th Commander-in-Chief will be honored with a parade mounted in his honor by a joint team of the Kenya Defense Forces. And as he inspects this last guard of honor, this parade will leave here after having been granted the powers to do so by the 5th Commander-in-Chief, President William Samoei Arap Ruto, after he has been given the sword that gives him the command to give them their order to leave.
The moment he hands over power to the new president, then the loyalty pledge and anything else shifts to the new president. So even when the band and the military will be walking over the stadium, they'll be saluting the new president.
Will that be the moment where the parade commander will ask, which president will the parade commander request to march the parade outside?
The current president, the sitting president, which will be the new president.
Back on the podium, several activities will happen once the new president moves to the stage.
I, Uhuru Kenyatta.
After the oath of allegiance, he will receive the presidential sword and a copy of the Constitution.
Those are symbols, military symbols, but they have a lot of meaning.
Experts of diplomacy and public administration note that though the two gentlemen at the heart of the handover were on opposite sides of the political campaign season, they will be standing together, each one standing in the limelight, remembering the call for duty to flag and country.
Democracy is not easy. When people quarrel, when people debate, it does not mean that you cannot talk the next day. We quarrel and debate in families, we quarrel and debate in communities, and we quarrel and debate about the future of the nation.
After all the festivities have died down, Uhuru Kenyatta will be escorted one last time by the military in a means of transport chosen by him.
Thank you very much.
Because it's just meaning there's a new resident in the State House, and we are officially taking you away because you've been our commander, you've been one of us, and we leave the current sitting president to take charge of State House. It's just like a bye-bye, but we shall not let you drive yourself. We shall take you home.
Leila Mohammed, NTV.